Tennessee, David Tulis.
We do argue that near is better than far, that small is better than big, and that simple is way better than complex. And in the footnotes, where even there, the good people fight against us with rumors, with media broadcasts, with the internet, they will argue just the opposite. And we say to them defiantly and courageously that personal is better than corporate, and that physical is better than abstract. This is David Tulis, the local economy guru, the Nooga centrist number one. Well, when Dave Crockett, the tall, lanky former city councilman, is here, he says that he's the number one Nooga centrist, and I'm just number two, his sidekick, if you will. I will grant it on that day, but today he's not here, and I will say that I'm the number one Nooga centrist, thinking somehow vainly and whimsically that Chattanooga is the center of the universe, and that because you're here in Hamilton County, that you think so too by default. Not that there's anything wrong with it. It's just amusing to consider that we all think that somehow our town is at the center, and that points farther away are less and less important to us, unless, of course, they have politics at play, in which case they become very important, and we become very small and very sclerotized indeed. Paul Niemeyer is the owner of Jet's Pizza here in town, the home of the deep dish square pizza. He's 52 years old. He's a bachelor, and originally from Lake Orion. Is that right?
Orion.
Okay. I was going to say Orion, but he corrected me that up there in Michigan, they say Orion. Lake Orion, Michigan. And when he was a young man, he worked with his father at his father's IGA store, the Niemeyer IGA, that closed in 2000. He's been here in Chattanooga for 5 years, and by an arrangement we'll hear about, ended up here in town running the only portal for the deep dish square pizza from the Jetts brothers, John and Eugene Jetts. That's Jetts. Eugene died recently in his 50s. Well, Paul, you're the owner of this restaurant, and you have these square pizzas, which are your big offering in the marketplace. Why should my listener think differently of your pizza outlet over others he hears about and passes and perhaps eats at?
Well, we do something different that a lot of pizza places do not do. We make our dough every morning fresh. Actually, they're there right now making dough. All the vegetables are cut fresh every day. We make the sauce. We grind the cheese. But the big thing is the fresh made dough every day. That's what differentiates us from others.
Well, all right. So you're running this business, and you have. When do people start coming in for pizza at Jetts? And where is Jetts, by the way? Just fill us in.
3600 Hickson Pike, next to the Food City, by Lupton City. We open at 11 in the morning, and people start coming at 11. We get delivery phone calls starting at 9:30, and we do a lot of deliveries. That's about 60% of our business. We will deliver, Actually, I'll deliver anywhere in Chattanooga for catering orders. But for regular, normal deliveries, we do like a 5-mile radius.
And you have 20 people working at Jetts Pizza, and about 5 or 6 of them are purely drive. They just drive.
Yeah, about 6 drivers. And then, the rest we call them insiders.
Insider. Well, Paul Niemeyer, tell my listener how you arrived here in Chattanooga.
I grew up at a family grocery store, an IGA store, and I started working there when I was 12 years old till I was in my late 30s. Unfortunately, we had to close. But it taught me a lot about working hard, what it takes to own your own business. The owner gets paid last. You pay everybody else. You pay the bills. You pay the electric. You pay your employees, and then you get paid. And sometimes it's not even as much as some of the employees. So, I learned the hard work. My dad is a very hard worker, and I learned a lot from him.
Well, were times ever so tough in the grocery business in Lake Orion in Michigan that your dad didn't get paid?
Sometimes?
Was there?
Oh yeah.
Was that just at the beginning of his owning that store?
It was. He had a store, and then he built the brand new one. and spent a lot of money down the street. And the first few years there were very, very tough. He went without
because
a paycheck.
he had a note to pay.
A big one, yes. Yes, and that's back when the interest rate was 18% in the early 80s.
That was okay.
Yeah.
Why did he make that? Why was that so important to take on that debt burden when the rates were so high and he just went down the street?
Well, he needed to do it. If he didn't do it, eventually somebody else would. And I think he wanted it for his family, and he was very, he was a go-to guy, and just, he was very ambitious.
The new store was bigger,
yes,
more modern,
twice the size. Yeah,
the old one looked like an old building.
The old one was a quintessential kind of old, small, little
fudgy, old-fashioned, stodgy-looking.
Yeah, and we had a full-service bakery in the new one, deli, meat department. I mean, it was 30,000 square feet. It was very nice.
Well, you say it closed in 2000. What happened?
We were on when he first built the store, we were on a good side of the road because we didn't have any competition. But probably, if looking back, we should have been we were on the wrong side of the road. It was a 2-lane, very busy road. People could not take a left-hand turn out when they were coming home. They have to take a left in and then a left out. And then we had new competition open up on the other side of the road, major competition, a Kroger, a Myers, and it just really it sucked it to us, and we had to close. And actually, right now, my father and some partners have turned it into an 80,000 square foot health club that is very successful.
So he's in the health business, then,
yeah,
he's not just a landlord; he's in that business.
Yes.
So you've been in two businesses now: the grocery business and now the pizza business. So you've had two careers as well.
Yes, sir.
And so you have general ideas of business, how to run a business, how to maintain cash flow. Is cash flow the most important thing in my listener's business or your business?
Well, I would think so. I mean, you got to pay the bills. You can't miss payroll. Yes.
Well, is it hard in your field? There are many pizza restaurants in Chattanooga, Paul Noomeyer. Is it hard to make the connection with your prospective diner that you're different? How do you?
Yeah, it is.
How do you do that? How do you reach out to them?
A lot of it is I do a lot of marketing myself. I go around to a lot of businesses, doctors' offices, and so I've actually brought free pizza to many businesses to try it, and it works. Once people try our pizza, that's the thing. You gotta get to try it.
This is David Tulis. We are talking with Paul Noomeyer, who is the owner of the Jets franchise here in Chattanooga. Now, you have one store, but you don't own the territory.
I do not.
Right?
No.
Well, what's involved in owning a territory in Jets Pizza? And if it were something within reach, would you try? Actually,
I don't. Jets Corporate doesn't even have it. They used to have it where you could have a territory. They don't. They've gotten rid of that. So my goal is to have another store on the other side of town. Probably East Brainerd.
Did you try that? Have you tried that? Have you made efforts in that?
Well, direction? I did a few years ago, and I ran into a few issues. And
can you remember what those issues are?
Well, finding the location was just right now. I'll tell you, the last few years, Chattanooga is it's tough to find a good location, and I had a few issues with the build out, with the location of the restroom.
When my brother and I opened the first Jets Pizza, we believe if we made the best pizza, customers would find us. So we made fresh dough each day, used fresh toppings, and premium mozzarella cheese. 300 plus stores later.
Is that Eugene?
Try Jets' famous 8-corner pizza with premium mozzarella cheese and one topping, now just $11.99 for a limited time only. Jets Pizza, the best pizza in town. 3600 Hickson Pike.
Life is short. Eat better pizza.
That's Eugene right there. Eugene Jets. Now, the Jets family is Jetts. And here he is. We have him in our commercial here at Nooga Radio. This is David Tulis. We're at AM 1240 and FM 92.7 Nooga Radio. We're live on Facebook and also live on YouTube. Now, Paul, a couple years ago in 2015, you were stricken with an autoimmune condition called Wegener's. What happened to you? And tell my listener about the perils of being ill while being the master of the enterprise.
Well, I had about 2 years ago right now, I had symptoms for a few months. I just kept getting sicker and sicker, which I ended up in the hospital on July 18th of 2015. And I ended up in the hospital for 28 days. And then after, it got to the point where the doctors had my parents get a priest to give my last rites. So, they didn't think I was going to make it. I had folks that worked for me were just fantastic, stepped up and took over the reins. They ran it as good as if I'd have been there. And I was so proud, and I couldn't have been happier.
Well, what are some of the things that they did that really stand out in your mind as commendable?
I had a gal that works for me, and she still works for me. She runs the place now, that stepped up, and she started.
What's her name?
Hannah. And she stepped up and would come in every morning, make the dough, make sure all the, everything got done right, the way I liked it, the way it was supposed to be done. She took care of everything, the making the dough, making the pizzas, making sure the health code was followed, making sure the driver showed up on time, making sure the schedule got done. My sister in Michigan took care of payroll every week.
Now, ordinarily, you do payroll yourself?
Yes.
How long a job is that every week?
Oh, it's a good hour and a half. That's, yeah. And thank God I had an accountant that took care of paying all the bills. So it all fell together great, and I'm the luckiest person on the planet because even being sick, I could still say I'm the luckiest person because I really shouldn't be here right now. So
you're saying that your recovery was remarkable and wasn't really expected.
Yes.
Well, and your parents came down. They were here for a week or so.
Yes.
Well.
They were down.
Were they expecting you to?
They were down here for a couple months. Well, they got a priest to give my last rites. So.
And they were here for that.
Yeah. Okay.
So you said they were here for a couple of months.
Yep.
Well, this is David Tulis, and so what lessons can you offer to my listener who runs his own business, Paul Neumeier of Jets, about treating workers? Because evidently you have had you had prior to this illness a good relationship with your workers, and they were able to have initiative enough to have a sense of ownership in their particular tasks.
Yeah, just I look at it as very simple. Just treat people the way you want to be treated, and trust them. People make mistakes. I make mistakes, but trust the good people, and it paid off for me very good.
Margins in the restaurant business are very thin. Talk a little bit about whether that's a good field to enter. The man who owns Caesar's Pizza has just bought the rights for a large, I think it's taco, a kind of a taco place that he's going to bring into Chattanooga. And when I asked him about that, I said, "Is not the restaurant field overbuilt? Are you not facing great, difficult challenges in that market? What are margins like, and is there any prospect of them improving?"
Well, the competition. It's tough. It's tough. You got to work hard. You got to a restaurant business. Well, with most businesses that you own, you got to be there all the time, and you got to have good people too. And it's a lot of work. The margins are tight, but if you keep your food costs aligned, the payroll aligned, it's a good business.
And you really want to be the owner, right? Because when there's profit, that comes to you.
Yes.
And that's Paul Neumeier is pointing out something that we like to celebrate here on the David Tulis program, and that is that Chattanooga needs more owners. And so that's why he's here to tell about his career, 5 years now in the pizza business with Jets Pizza. What we need in Chattanooga are new owners, not necessarily new employees. Yes, it's great to be employed, but what happens when you have an entrepreneur who buys a franchise or starts a business is that he creates a profit that stays here. You're a local man. You live here. When you have a profit that's more or less spent in the area where you have your gain. An employee, he doesn't make a profit. An employee is paid exactly what he's worth and not a penny more. So there's no profit in employment. It's an equal trade between the employer, the man who owns the business, and the man who's selling his labor for a set price. And there's no profit in employment. And I argue, Paul, that if Chattanooga had only employees and no owners, we couldn't have a city. No city could exist if you didn't have profit staying in Chattanooga. what do you do with your profit as owner?
Well, I put a lot of it back into the business. Actually, I'm looking at possibly buying delivery vehicles down the road for my drivers. So,
well, how would that help your business?
Well, I think it would be great advertising because I would have jets plastered all over them, and it would be good for the drivers too because they wouldn't have to pay. They would have to use their own vehicles. They would have the wear and tear on their own vehicles.
So right now they wear the little kind of a beanie cap, the magnetized.
Topper. Yeah, we call it the jet
cap.
topper. Yep.
What's it called?
A topper.
A topper.
Yep.
And how many? You say you have 5 or 6 drivers, so you have 5 or 6 cars going around, all different, all diverse.
I'm in the initial stages of looking into that. So,
well, would that be a van? Or would that be a smaller?
It'd probably be a small vehicle.
Car?
Yeah.
Okay, because it is just pizzas you're delivering, right?
Not just pizza.
Yeah, it's not just pizza; it's Jets Pizza. Yeah. Jets Pizza. Well, listen. Now, what else can I ask you about, Paul? You're a bachelor. You're from Michigan, and you say it takes a lot of hours to be in business as the owner. How many hours do you actually work, and what do you do to give yourself a break from the pizza field and the pizza parlor?
Oh, I'm there 6 days a week, and as far as hours, it just depends. I mean, I work the lunch, I work in the evening. And I have great people that work a lot of hours too. So, and I'm my off when I'm not working. I like to go sailing on the river, the privateer yacht club.
Oh, so you have a sailing boat?
In Michigan, I did. Down here, I don't. I latch on to somebody else here.
Well, that's good to hear. So, any specials going on today? Paul Niemeyer of Jets Pizza. Anything you want to throw at my listener?
We've got large deep dish, 1 toppings for $10.99.
And you have any? But is that your normal rate?
That's our normal.
Okay.
Yep.
No specials this week that you want to?
I'll tell you what. If somebody wants to come in, I'll give them a free slice. If they say they heard me out here, I'll give them a free slice today and tomorrow. How's that?
Okay, that's fair. Okay, you're my listener. You have an offer for a free slice of.
If they say they heard me out here.
If you heard Paul chatting with me here, David Tulis, at Nooga Radio, you can get a free slice of pizza. Now, you say you have. How is it that other pizza parlors run their business? Does it really matter if it's frozen or fresh made? I mean, the freezing process is instantaneous almost, and it preserves all the nutrients, and it preserves often much of the quality. So, frozen vegetables, I would say the same. So, does it really make a difference to have fresh dough over frozen dough, or freshly cut vegetables over pre-cut?
For sure, yeah.
It does make a difference.
Yes, I mean, come try Jets Pizza, and even the dough that we make this morning, it's good for a day and a half, but it's the best that day. So I mean, just 24 hours later, you can tell the difference in taste of it.
Well, what's the process of making the sauces? How is that done?
Well, we get the cans from a supplier, and then we mix it up with water, and we put in spices, and we mix it for 10 minutes in a big Hobart mixer, and then we pour it into containers, and we let it sit for 24 hours before we use it, and that's very good sauce.
This is David Tulis, and we're glad that you were able to join us today. Paul Niemeyer from Jets Pizza, thanks very much.
Thank you.
This is David Tulis, and we're glad you're giving us a couple of minutes every time. Don't forget that there are sandwiches also at Jets Pizza and Wings. Is that right?
They're called Jetsies. That's a new sandwich we have. And then you have wings, bread, salads.
Jetsies that Paul and his staff will make. We're going to talk next about the whole world of Facebook. There's a mom who who with her husband has just adopted an 18-month-old child in their house in North Georgia, and she has this morning said that she's getting off of Facebook because she wants to have connections with other people. So what is it about Facebook? What is it about digital media against which she is reacting? This is David Tulis, and would like to suggest that there is all about us a threat to human authenticity in digital media. The social connections that we make online may not be as rich and as full and as authentic as we'd like to imagine. There's an artificial stimulus here, much like the artificial stimulus that has kept our credit-based economy afloat for the past 11 years. and it might implode. This is David Tulis.